Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hot Mic with Lady She podcast. I am your host, Lady She. I am super excited on this good Saturday to sit here with a childhood friend from Hempstead. I know how I get it.
Hempstead.
From Hempstead, Long Island, New York. I am super excited to jump into her story. She is an inspiration. She is the epitome of being empowered. She's the epitome of being a survivor, a overcomer, and dot, 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 dot. Welcome, Miss Rina Evans.
Hi, everybody.
And she looks amazing, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
No
I am
problem.
super excited to dive into your story. I'm already feeling like I can't explain when you're in someone's presence who has such a powerful story. It has a feeling. So there's something happening in the room. So I truly appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
All right. So my first question is the same question I asked all my guests. If you had to explain yourself, who is Rina?
I would say Rina is resilient. And I don't use that word lightly. As I continue to go on my healing journey, the word came to me resilient. I am a person that has been through a lot for the last 20 plus years. And I don't want to break down and get emotional, but when I look at my story or people that have been on a journey with me, they know that my story is very powerful. And so I would say resilience.
All right, I love that. I love that. So when it comes to the day-to-day, in and out, everything you've gone through, what is your drive, or as we now say in this time frame, what is your why?
My why is my family. My husband has kept me grounded. We met when we were 16, 17 in Hempstead High School. Tigers. Been together for 30 years. I'm telling my age. Married, we'll be married for 21 years.
Awesome.
If I'm giving up, he said, what did he say to me the other day? He said, when I start to worry, then you need to worry. And my husband don't say but so much, but that empowers me. My daughter as well, just her story alone.
I love that. I love that. So, before we actually came on, guys, I was just sharing with Rina that I have a heart for the veterans. Huge thank you for your services. I have a lot of family members who their names are in all type of monuments and things because of the work that's done as veterans, army, military, and everything. So I have a heart for them, and I see a lot of things that go on that's hurtful to me.
Yes.
So just share with the people what you've been doing for 15 years.
So I started my career in 2009 as actually an intern. Finished my degree and my master's in public administration. Got this fabulous job to work with the Department of Veterans Affairs out in Northport, Long Island. And I was placed, once I finished my internship or my training, I was placed in HR. So I saw you when I used to do my job for you.
Yes.
Because you was on the other side and I was on the other table. So I've been recruiting for all my life. I love helping my veterans. I would tell them about their resume, what their campaign or expeditionary medal. I've been working with the veterans for, going on in August will be 16 years.
Awesome.
I don't get out as much because now I'm an HR director, so I miss that field work, but it's still in me.
Right.
And so basically I help my veterans. And if I don't know anything, I have connections with people for housing. I have worked with people, hey, can you help this veteran? People know me as Miss Evans, and when I used to work in the VA in Northport. And I love working for my veteran. My brother is a veteran. He served. I have many other people that I know, so it's dear to my heart.
Yes. Listen, like I said, thank you for your service. We're always, you're not in it alone.
No.
People that may not wear your hat, your shield, or anything, we are praying for you. We are always rooting for you to be on top because you surely deserve it.
Thank you.
With the climate of this world right now. So thank you for that. I know I saw something, you mentioned something about a STAR program. Can you tell me what that
so I was responsible in 2022, I was detailed in my position to hire over 1,000 HR specialists. It was a need in our VA. We were able to do it historically, something that never been done before.
Right.
hired 70 people the first time that we started up with 3 people.
Awesome.
And I got over 20 jobs that we had to announce, and we hired over 1,000 people to start their career in HR. And so that was something that was dear to me. I was tasked to do that. I believe that God just placed me in that role, and we killed it. And now we have over 1,000 people in that position today due to my team's effort and work.
I love this. Love,
Yes.
love, 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 love it. See, this is what I love because we don't always know how God is setting us up. You
Yes.
started as an intern and then He was literally leveling you up every step of the way. That's
Exactly.
amazing. That's amazing. I also saw that you received an award.
Oh yeah, gosh. I received Supervisor of the Year 2024. It was very shocking to me.
Why was it
You
shocking?
know, I'm a type of person. My boss always tells me, he was like, Rina, why you never just give yourself, like, know that you know, I think, you know, sometimes with us, I'm just a humble person.
Yeah.
When people ask me, or my staff, I have open door policy.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times when you look as a leader, you think of a director being a person that's not approachable. When I was assigned to the role that I'm in now, my job, and the Holy Spirit spoke to me, He said, you're gonna change the trauma in HR. I've worked very hard to, you know, get to where I am, and I never wanted my organization that they put me in, a new organization to start up the STAR program, support it. I never wanted my staff to feel that they couldn't come to me.
Right.
You know, normally when you have a leader, they're not as approachable, and I'm just a down-to-earth person. It doesn't matter about my title. Please don't call me Director Evans. Just call me Rina.
Right.
And also, I have such a heart of gold because I want to see you win.
Yeah.
I'm always motivating my staff. I want them in the rooms. I want my supervisors to be in my job one day. I don't have a problem sharing my information. So for me, changing the trauma in HR as far as the leadership job that I'm in today, it allowed people to like be comfortable. We do our work. They always call my team the miracle team. And I know that has a lot to do with the higher power above. My boss will often say to me, how do you get your staff to do all this? Well, I know that I pray about everything, so I don't start my day without praying over my staff, praying over my people in leadership, and just making sure that, God, I want you to use me. I don't need the glory. I don't need to be one up somebody. I don't need to be a person that needs to be in a room. And oftentimes when we're in a leadership meeting, I don't say anything. I always tell my staff or my supervisors, I let my work speak for myself.
Well,
So that's what I do.
love, love, love. All of it. Oh my gosh, I got chills. Yes, let's go. There's nothing like encountering a leader, supervisor, a boss that can hear you with their heart.
Exactly.
It makes it so much better for you to be effective in whatever your position is. You will treat it like it's your job, like you're the owner.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So thank you so much for always giving your heart and giving yourself, because that matters. People will always remember you. And they will compare you when they go to other places like, I had such a jewel. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, a lot of them don't want to leave. But, I always tell my staff, it's what you do as a leader. Your people will tell you how you are as a leader. And oftentimes people don't like to put the little people in the room. I'm always thinking, even in my climate now with things going on in the federal government, but I want my people to be put in those rooms, to be put in those projects. That's how I got to where I am.
Right.
You have to have advocates to put you in the room. And sometimes when people get in those kind of jobs, they don't want other people to shine. And it's so important that we elevate our teams. We look into the room and see the talent that they have. I know some of my staff will get mad at me because they don't like public speaking, but I said, these are the things that's gonna help you. I may not be able to promote you within, but you're gonna always be prepared and ready for those jobs when they open up. And that's the one thing I've always said as a leader in this job that I have now, is to make sure that my people are prepared with the climate of going on and everything else. I want them to be in those rooms and have that knowledge base.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that, love that. So even speaking of the climate, how are you feeling, and what is the atmosphere like with these changes, with this new administration, with, the laws and all the different things? Out of nowhere, people losing their jobs in the federal government.
without saying and going into details, it's hard, you know, being a federal employee at sometimes. But what I always remember that God don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Even though you may see something going on, sometimes we don't know the reason why it's occurring. What I do as a leader to inspire my people, ride with them, you know, offer them support if there's EAP, if there's anything that I can help them with, to make them, you know that I'm here at least as the leader. If they feel like the whole world is falling apart, well, you're not gonna fall apart on my team, because we're gonna inspire you, we're gonna motivate you, and as long as I'm in this role as a director, I'm going to help you and make sure that you are good with your family. So anything that I can do in my power, I'm gonna make sure that my team is gonna feel that they have a safe space on my team.
Love it. Woo! Woo! Well, let's talk about it then. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like I said, you have to be in a space for you to understand how I'm feeling, you know, hearing what she's saying, because some of us have really truly encountered some supervisors where we're like, or we're like dreading going to work. I remember saying that to a coworker one time. I said, listen, we don't come here walking on eggshells. That's not healthy. That makes you sick.
Toxic.
Keeps you depressed. That's not how this goes. You know what I'm saying? Use your words. Let a person know, like, this ain't it for me. Like, I don't know, is something going on with you? Do you need prayer? Because we're humans at the same time. We carry the things that we're going through into work, into these different spaces. So, you know, sometimes you can have a bad day, good day, whatever, but no one should be showing up to work cringing.
And not to that and I say that to my staff every day. That's why it's important that even though I have my supervisors, I call randomly my staff up, how you doing? Because it's important for me as the organizational head to make sure that they're not going to be afraid to speak to me when their leader may not be doing the things that I'm teaching them to be that kind of leader. Because I need people around me that kind of have that same type of ability to lead. There's an art to leading. Not everybody can be a leader, and what you did speak on, I've done that to a point one time I was going to walk away from my career.
Wow.
Because when you're going into a toxic environment, that's why I go back to changing the trauma, because the trauma is what you've been through. And you hold it all in sometimes, and you don't allow yourself to, you take it all on. I'm the type of person, with me, people come to me a lot, so I wear a lot of hats, but sometimes you get tired of wearing those hats. So now you're developing all kinds of illnesses, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, all these things. All of this stuff is coming from environments that are toxic. So what you want to do, at least for me in my role currently, is to make sure that we heal the trauma. And that trauma could be the past boss that you had, the person that you know that you have a child that have wrinkles, you can't take off because now it's like I'm gonna lose my job. Making it to an environment where you're gonna be able to work in that environment, but yet my boss know I may have issues, and not my daughter maybe have wrinkles or whatever, but she understands because I'm gonna give her 150. And my team does that because I bring that environment that is not toxic.
It's conducive for
and so people are able to work, and that's why we're able to do the things that we do, and that's why leaders call on our team a lot when things need to get done, because they're gonna stay late. They're not gonna stay late if your boss is nasty. You're gonna wanna stay and work for the person. So it's kind of like a psychology thing, but also, you know, you love your people and you're gonna make sure you support them.
Absolutely, that's the one. That is the one. So when you're speaking of trauma, are you speaking of, like, for yourself as well? Like, what are these things that you've gone through?
Gosh. You know, when I say trauma and just being a person of color, sometimes having to deal with issues that that you have to work a little harder. You can never really give excuses in what you do. I've never given excuses in, you know, my color or whatever, but there are some times that you know that you have to sometimes do 150. And so for me, a person that has gone through in the previous job, although I didn't really have that in the federal government, but I have had that in the private sector. I've been very successful in my job. My work spoke for itself. But you feel that way. So I've never given anyone the reason to not think that I cannot do the job. And so I've worked so many years of working and working and working. And some was recognized, some was not. And so when I say about trauma, there was things when I first became a specialist, nobody didn't want to come to me. I was the first African American specialists in staffing where I was at.
Wow.
So that was kind of pressure. And I've been trailblazing a lot of other things and helping people, or people would come in my office and be like, hey, you know, I didn't know there was, you know. And so it's kind of like a responsibility to, one, prove that just because we shouldn't be looking at people's race, we got the credentials,
Yes.
but oftentimes you are. I wrote my dissertation on residential segregation on Long Island, so I gotta miss 157 pages.
Okay.
So I understood like what was going on, particularly in Long Island. So, but when I say trauma is, there's things that sometimes you've gone through, and sometimes you will carry it. Like I had trauma in my previous job, where I couldn't tell somebody I was pregnant.
Wow.
And my daughter was preemie, and I couldn't tell them because it was a type of climate that they didn't really care, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I went through some stuff in that job, and so I kind of brought that in the other job. And so we have to learn how to heal from those traumas.
Yeah,
So when I talk about trauma, it's the past, it's bringing it in. Did you put the wound on it? Like did you put the Band-Aid on the wound, or did you heal? So it's important because mentally, mental health is something that we don't talk about, especially as people of color. We go to God, but sometimes we probably need to sit on the couch, you know, and talk to other people. And also a lot of times in this journey, even when getting my education, I didn't have people that looked like me. I didn't have my daughter until I was 30 years old, almost 29, 30. All my friends had the kids, and I didn't have my daughter until I was 30, almost 20, 30 years old, and then she came out, you know, premature. And so going through things and not really having anybody that looked like you was kind of hard for me, because I didn't have anybody to talk to, you know. So it was a lot going on that I didn't have anybody to, and this is why it's important to mentor people. I didn't have anybody to talk to about some of the things that I experienced, but I went to God. And then my mother at the time, she was alive. I would talk to her, so yeah.
Love that, love that, love that. So even with, you know, you said, you know, you're married, you've been with your high school sweetheart.
Yes.
I love that, I love that, I love that. Now you have a daughter, and, you know, thank you for sharing, you know, the age that you had her, and realize, you know, your friends were having kids.
Yeah.
You know, everything is in God's timing.
Yes.
Everything is in God's timing, and He doesn't give us more than we can bear. But, you know, do you kind of mind sharing going into, you know, that part of it, having her,
Yes.
and some of the things you've been dealing with until this current time?
So I had my daughter in 2008, and I hope I don't get emotional about this.
It's okay.
It's been a journey with her. One, when you have a child that was born early, and
it's okay. Take your time.
I get emotional
She's
about
a
my
blessing.
child.
She's a
but,
blessing. We all get emotional for our children.
Right.
It's a
My daughter was born in 2008, and she was born early. I was supposed to have her in 2000. I had her 29 weeks, and she was born 2 pounds 1 ounce, and she stayed in the hospital for 171 days. And I went through so much with her because I couldn't even tell at my previous job, and this is why I tell you trauma, that I was pregnant.
Yeah, it's silent.
And then once I had problems and complications with her, it wasn't no red carpet. They didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
And so I kind of dealt with a lot of blame. When you have a child that's early, you deal with a lot of blame. What could I have done? And then when you fight through that, and, you know, she died 3 times and came back. You're fighting now with school districts.
Right.
You know, people don't know. They'll look at her and be like, oh, is she this, is she that? And you don't know nobody's story.
Right.
You know, you don't know how somebody got here, just like nobody don't know my story. And it's important sometimes that people will tend to judge you based on how you look, but they don't know the path or what are the things that you've been through.
Absolutely.
And so with my daughter, being that she was born early, she required a lot of therapies, speech. She didn't speak until she was almost 7.
Like OT.
OT, PT, all these things. And, you know, I decided to stay in my community, Hempstead. I never left because I felt that there was a purpose for me because I help other kids. I also when she was little and things like that, she was mainstreamed and she had to go into special ed or whatever. I wind up making sure that the district had inclusion programs when she was in kindergarten.
Explain to them what inclusion
An
program is.
inclusion program is being with regular kids or in special classes or half general ed and half special ed kids. I wanted my daughter to have the most positive role models, especially being like speech, monkey see, monkey do. I didn't want it self-contained. So I had to really fight the district in a lot of these things. I remember going down to the school board meetings and going the hell off. And the last conversation I had, she was in the middle school, and I remember it was a teacher named Miss Moore.
It's okay.
She believed in my daughter when many people judged her. I never thought my daughter might have graduated from high school, but she's going to graduate and walk across the stage with a regular high school diploma.
Yes.
I fought so many schools. I remember one teacher saying to me when she was in the middle school, they said, "She don't belong here." And I said, "Where the hell does she belong?"
All right.
I said, "Because you see her or how she looks, she's not autistic. You don't know her history. But you need to learn how to be a teacher. You decided to be a special ed teacher, so learn how to be a special ed teacher." And special ed doesn't mean that, you can be a gifted child. You can have other variables. But
Right.
one teacher, particularly named Miss Beverly Moore, she taught my baby so much. She started killing it with the writing and doing PowerPoint presentations and being on high honor roll
Yes.
and passing her Regents test and things like that. And she took the time to know my daughter.
Right.
And a lot of times people want to put you in boxes and say, "Hey, this is where you are and this is where we're going to keep you." And I always would say to my daughter, I said, "Ari, people are going to count you out."
Right.
I said, "You need to raise your head above." I said, "Everybody is different in their own unique name,
That's it.
in their own unique way." And I said, "You're going to walk across that stage. You're going to go ahead and walk across that stage in 2026. And I've been saying that. Just like when the doctors told me, "Miss Evans, she's not going to live," or all this. And I didn't have no faith. And that's why I got into about my husband. When she first was born, I didn't know how to deal with a child with preemie. I didn't know what to do to walk in the hospital, or you have this baby and this baby's with all this stuff having chronic lung disease. And I lost my faith in God. I didn't understand who God was. But my husband, this is important that you get a man or somebody in your life that can, when you are feeling down, that person is going to speak into your life. And my husband said to me, even when she was all those two, "I see my daughter coloring." I said, "Well, how do you see her coloring?" I said, "She's got all of this stuff on her." And I just couldn't understand how God could give me a child with all of these wrinkles. But God said, "I gave you her because your story is going to go up one day." I confess, I'm writing her book. It's going to be called Faith of a Mother. And I said, she's going to be a lifetime story. And that's what I mean, that the things that occurred in her life, only God knew. He gave me that child because he knew I'm resilient and he knew I'm going to fight.
That's it.
And he don't give us people, some kids sometimes. I think the biggest struggle is, my daughter said to me one day, she said, "I know I'm different. I don't do the things of a 17-year-old do, but I'm unique." And I'm like, I speak that in her life to not worry about who else is in the room. So when I do those exercises and I told her, "Hold her head up, don't put your head down." She said, "Mom, you taught me how to be different. You don't tell me how to worry about if the girls are doing this and all this stuff. I'm different." And I said, "Baby, that's okay." But I think as a mother, sometimes you want people to be accepted. You want your children to be a part.
You're going to be loved.
Right. But she's already me. Because I don't care what nobody say about me either.
Well.
So she's got it in her DNA to not worry about it. But sometimes you get upset because you're like, "Oh, she don't have this one, she's 17. And she said, "Why are you trying to make me to be something else that I'm not supposed to be? I'm different, I know I am, and I'm gonna be okay." And even when I get down, she'll hold my head up and be like, "Mommy, now don't be giving up now. Don't hold your head up." I said, but this is how you speak into your children's life, right? So all these times that my child with the wrinkles and everything else going on, she's over now pouring into my soul. And this is what you do as a leader. You pour into your staff's soul. So when you are feeling down or you are a leader, because you're going to have days where you just want to give up too, now your staff is checking on you. Miss Evans, are you okay? Rena, you good? And this is, so pretty much with my daughter, she has a story alone. We're getting into it. She's going to be all right. She'll be graduating in 2026, and I'm happy and excited about her journey.
Man, love that. I can't wait to read the book, see the movie.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I have chills. For those that's on my platform, they know I do have a special needs son. This is what the book is about.
Yes.
And I wrote the book for reasons like that, encouraging the families to understand whatever the diagnosis is, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
It's not the end of the world, and you can encourage your child, and they can be powerful.
Exactly.
In whatever field, whatever way
life.
that is, you speak into their life, you pour into them, and you remind them that God made you unique.
Doesn't matter what other people say.
Exactly.
And that's the one thing I always tell people. I've helped parents, and I just recently helped another mother recently. And I said to her, it's not your fault that your child is the way it is. Society wants to bring you like that. Don't ever say it's your fault, because it's not. Yeah. It's the teachers that have to learn how to deal with your unique child. They're the ones that got to listen to you, because you, mama, know what your child needs. And that is why she's walking across that stage, is because I knew my daughter. I knew her capability, just like you knew what your son's capability is, right? They don't know your son's capability, but sometimes you have teachers that don't want to do nothing else. But see, when you come with my child, you're going to be held accountable.
Okay.
You're going to work for that check. So, yeah.
You're going to work for that check. So, I love that you shared that, because recently I responded to someone on social media. They were they made the post anonymous, and they were asking about, you could tell through the post they were struggling. They were heartbroken over what was going on with their child. So one of the things I shared with them, and it's also in the book, was about how even when you realize the professionals may not have everything you desire for your child, you have to fight for your child, and you have to see each person that's in their life each day, and you have these meetings with them, and you see what's working, what is not working. So one of the things I shared was that when I started meeting with the different teachers, the aides, the principal, I met with everybody once a month. And when I literally, and I'm a praying woman, I literally watched my son's paperwork go from red to little check here, little check there, because we worked hard as a team. And I want you guys to understand, God honors marriage, and He sends us who we need. So I'm getting emotional.
Yes.
Hearing your husband say what he said to you is everything. So when I'm not telling nobody not to have children, I'm not telling nobody to get married or whatever, but make sure the person's from God. Make sure that person knows what you need. Make sure that person is in tune with what is actually going on with you. Because so many marriages fail because the other party doesn't understand, and they don't take out time to see and understand. Even with us talking about postpartum, the movie Behind the Joy, it was connected to the other spouse not understanding what was happening to the other spouse. So communication has to happen in the home when it comes to marriage, when it comes to being parents. So thank you so much for sharing.
And that too, our daughter's story, being in the hospital for 171 days, and then life after that, coming home on an oxygen tank, and having to deal with so many people, therapists in and out of the house. That could have broke the marriage up a long time ago with that. But for my husband to stand in when I had to take this new job and travel across the country, and my in-laws and my family to support me, that was hard for me as a mother, because when I started my career, I started when my baby was 15 months old. And it was hard because at the end of the day, I'm struggling to, deal with motherhood, dealing still with PD, postpartum and things like that. Still blame you or blame yourself. For him and my in-laws to step in and say, no, Rena, we got you, and have my child, made it. And then this not being you can be called a father, but a daddy. Woo! There's a difference between a mother and a mommy. You're going to call mommy, you ain't going to call mother. You're going to call daddy, you ain't going to call father. So stepping in, even today, if we get them calls, Mr. Evans is going up to that school. Whether he worked his 3 to 11 shift, he's going in for his baby. And it's so important for you to have that. Marriages ain't always perfect. We ain't perfect. Nobody ain't perfect. Nobody's marriage is perfect. But when you have somebody, especially going through what I'm going through right now in the state of working in federal government, and your husband kissed to you, and he says to you, you good?
Yeah.
Like, he don't say nothing. Everybody don't
You
mind.
gotta say
He said
much.
he just don't say, you good? He said and he said this, I'll never forget it. I was having a little anxiety. And then I said to myself, you know what, Lord, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. But then when he stepped in, this is how I know like God is something about God.
He's purposeful.
When he stepped in there, and my husband don't say much, but this time where I'm going through it, I'm like, oh my God, da, 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 to the point I'm like, I want to eat everything in the house. And he said, when I start worrying, you need to worry. It was such, Shanice, it was such a comforter because it's like, he don't have to be the motor mouth like me. It's the two words that he say that's powerful. That I feel like, okay, babe, if he's saying that, I know something. Right, it's a comfort. And so I love that about us. You know, he ain't got to be a big mouth. He ain't got to be two words. You know, like be a Russell Silver, God bless you, good night. But when he needs to stand in there and his wife is going through, or if I don't want to say, now he was like, now you know how to do that job. Now get in there. It's the motivation. That's what it's the motivation. Even when I was coming here, I was like, okay, well, I got to do this. I don't know if I'm going to do this. And I'll tell you, no lie, I'll share something and then you'll get into your other question. When God spoke to me, I've been going through, people don't know, but I've been through a lot. I calculated, for the last 23 years, depression. Right. And I had to look at it. Sometimes when you do fast and God starts to show you things that you didn't even know that you thought you were healed of. Right. And I looked at things, I've really been going through things since I was 24. I'm going to be 47 years old. And he showed me all of these things. And he told me in 2025 that it was your elevate. And I even did like a post. And I had like over 23,000 followers on my TikTok. They didn't ban my page. And somebody said something about your resilience. And I didn't know what people flocked to my page because at the time when you're the strong one, you don't have anybody to go to, right? We don't have anybody. Once you're a strong person, everybody dumps their problems on you. And I went through such a time in my life where I just wanted to give up. I just got tired of being the strong one. The family coming over, the cash app, the friends they're not pouring into your soul. They only using you to get the information they need. And I realized, and we'll go into that health journey, when I started to take care of me is when the shades started coming.
Ooh, well,
are we walking into that?
Exposure.
The shades started coming.
Revelation.
Because what people realize, what I realize with people, is long as you sick and you there for them, they don't care. They're good. And so when you decide to put you first, you have the problem. You the bougie one. You looking this way. And you were still the same person, but now you realize that God exposed the foes in your life. He removed them out of the way, the ones that you didn't hear the conversation, because when you are depressed, you don't see those things. You don't look at people and be like, okay, what's going on here? When you see now, because God, and it's important to fast. Yes. I tell people this all the time. Fast, because when you fast, God will reveal things to you. So when he told me in 2025, he said, you need to go out and get your story. So when Shanice reached out to me in February, I knew that was confirmation because so many people have reached out to me, whether it was TikTok or my professional, and I would deny. I was like, no, I ain't ready for that. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not going. And I would deny it. And the Holy Spirit just said, it's time for you to tell because we don't know who are we impacting in one's life. So I thank you. Yeah, I thank you. Shanice.
Absolutely. Come on, God. Come on, Jesus. Listen, people who know me will like, no, this one don't play. If she's reaching out to you, you better pay attention. Yeah. So that's why I said it's your time. When we had that conversation, I said, ma'am, it is your time.
It is.
I said, but let me know. Let me know. I said, I said, pray, talk to God about it, and let me know. Because I don't play with him, okay? It's little me, big him, okay? Let's be clear. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
So, I definitely wanted you to tap into, your weight loss journey.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. That was refreshing and overwhelming at the same time. Just like how God does. But I really want you to tap in, to your story connected to your weight loss journey. Like I said earlier, I've known Rina since school, and Rina has always been stunning, okay?
Thank you.
Do you hear me? She's always been absolutely stunning. She's always been gorgeous. But you have had a weight loss journey.
Oh, yeah.
So I would love for you to tap into that. I've had guests come on share different procedures they've gotten. Some have done it natural, some have done not Ozempic because I haven't had a guest that did that yet, but like the sleeve and different things, and they've shared why they did it, why they did not do it, and what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Even things connected to what works best for Black women and not the other cultures.
Okay.
So you know, you can share as you see fit.
Okay, so wow, I got diagnosed with diabetes in March. It finally caught up to me. March 2023. I'll never forget it. My doctor had prescribed me medication. And for years, my doctor always wanted me to have that surgery, that weight loss surgery, my husband and I don't want nobody cutting on my stomach. I want all my body parts. Whatever do for you, that's good. And so it got to a point where I didn't realize how fluffy, I call it fluffy. Because I was always
I think that's so cute.
I call it fluffy. You know, they call it fat, but I call it fluffy. 'Cause I'm just a whole, you know. And so in August of 2023, I went to an endocrinologist and I stepped on the scale and I was 314 pounds. I said, me, Sway? 314? Because I'm going to get a bigger shirt. That's the one thing I'm going to do. I didn't know it was that fluffy. And so at that time, my doctor said, and I'll say it, you know, I'm on a journey of Mounjaro, which is a diabetic medication that helps us with weight loss. And I didn't want to take that in the beginning because I don't, as people of color, sometimes you feel like people giving you stuff and it might cause other problems.
Yeah.
But what I did was, I stepped on that scale. My doctor at that time, he said, well, you ate them snacks. I said, well, shit, I did. And not only that, I worked out, had trainers, everything else. I couldn't lose the weight. Right. You know, so I realized that I had obesity issues. And I've always been quite frankly, I've always been a fluffy child. Mm-hmm. And so as I went on my fast and things like that, I didn't even realize some of the things that when I was younger, I didn't know this. This is what God would do when you thinking you heal for stuff. I lose weight, people, you know, because most men back then, you know, I wasn't fluffy in high school. You know, I was thick or whatever you want to call it. But I didn't realize as God was working with me, I didn't realize that even when I was little, I was fluffy. Because my mother used to have to put the tights on me and I was fluffy. And so, you know, God, I used the weight loss and I started losing weight, and within 1 month I lost like 17 pounds. Wow. Then I started losing like 30 pounds. And the hurtful thing about that, people say, oh, she had the weight loss surgery. They have this. People know my thing. I do clap back. I said, just say you inspire. You know, get in my inbox saying, don't lose. So many people, don't lose no more weight. But you don't know what I've been through. I got cholesterol issues. I'm 314 pounds. I'm going into congestive heart failure, my kidneys, all these things. I'm telling my business. But my point, what I'm saying is, we don't know what people are doing. People are so judgmental. They don't want to share their journey. And we just don't know who we can help today to go out here and maybe perhaps want to try one of those. Because for me, frankly, I'm not getting my stomach. I don't believe in, for me, I don't want nobody cutting on my stomach. I ain't never had no surgery. I ain't never did none of that. And I know many of people have said that about me. I've been on this journey for 19 months. So when people are seeing me now, they're looking at, oh, you're so thin, you're so whatever. But it took 2 years for me to get to this level. I work out now and exercise or whatever the situation may be. But it's hurtful because people would say, don't get too small. Don't do this. My BMI was 51. It was a 51. Wow. I could hardly freaking walk. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I was literally sick. I have nothing now. You know, like I just, you know, whatever. And I thank God for that endocrinologist, Crusoe. I thank God for you coming to me as well as my husband and saying, hey, you need to do something. You're 45 years old and you got all of this. And what you gonna do? Is either that surgery or is this? And I'm like, I want all my body parts. Right. I don't want none of that. So that is how I lost. I'm down to about 160 now. I've lost over 150 pounds.
Wow, I love this. I love it. You look amazing.
Thank you.
You look amazing. And I can tell it's a thing, you know, and like I said, no judgment here. Whatever you want to do, whatever works for you, great. But you want to be comfortable and you want to be confident.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of people who have gotten surgeries and they're still kind of like that fluffy person. in the small person's body. They haven't healed mentally. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there's so many bruises that they went through being heavy,
Right.
that now they're just in a skinny body, but they're still the heavier person.
And
in
it's
that
hard.
body.
They call it body dysmorphia. Where
Yeah,
you look at your, look, I go to plus size. I'm like, I ain't plus size no more. But my whole point is, it's like to get your head out of that thing, because, you know, I was a size, well, I'll tell you, 22 and 23. I'm a size 10, 11, or whatever it is. You know, it goes up and down. But my point is, you go through body dysmorphia, and you have to, even my husband was, you know, I want, baby. Even my husband was looking at me like, I don't know how to deal with this new you know? And so it's a new you, and people have to deal with it. I'm not acting anything, but I love me. I love who I am and what I'm becoming. And I don't give a damn if you like it or not, because you ain't, listen, you're not me. You don't know my medical history. I'm sharing a little bit of it now. But we just don't know, and I would say for your audience or people that are assuming things or don't know what's going on with people, you know, you don't know what somebody's going through. I think a lot of times for me, because I do like to dress, people will say I'm bougie, or they'll say don't go in this and dress this way. But I've always dressed this way. You just could see, you don't see the fluffiness no more. And it hurts though. But I got news for you haters, because that's why I'm clapping back, because some haters might be on here peeping. I don't give a damn, because you ain't my doctor anyway.
And there you have it. In that conversation right there, mic drop. Look, hot mic drop. I love that. I love that. I love that. You look amazing, like I said, and I just love the confidence, and you know, understand. Basically, what we're talking about is also sometimes you go through things, you have to unlearn some things as well, especially when dealing with depression. You don't even realize you're in it until God starts to heal. You have to talk to yourself like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I was going through that. Like, why was I going through that? And then you try to learn, you know, where did this come from? Like, was it childhood trauma? Like, what happened to me that I allowed this to go on so long? But once you're there, don't stay in that, you know. Just take comfort in who you are now. Love on yourself now and where you are now. So I truly, truly thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, and if hopefully it helps somebody.
Yes.
And if you want to be inspired, my box, I'll let you know what you need to do.
Let's get it. So we're gonna close up. I want you to you have like a following on TikTok you mentioned.
I did.
But it's called something, right?
But it's called Resilience, but I'm building my new page up. I had over 23,000 followers. I met some wonderful people on there, and the devil gets busy, so they said I violated community violation, so I lost over my 23,000 followers. But I'm building my page up. It's Resilience 78. What I post on my page, whatever God wants me to post. I do a lot of fashion. I do, you know, fashion, or I'll post some of I don't really do it on Facebook or Instagram, but I do it more on TikTok. It's a page where I feel like TikTok to me was something that helped me a lot healing, because it wasn't judgmental, and it wasn't people that I went to high school with. It wasn't family members looking at your picture, screenshotting it. You know, it was people that I never knew and could tell that something was going on with me. Resilience, your post, you got something going on. And a lot of times, and I thank God for some of the high school friends that reached out to me. Not even the own people I talked to didn't reach out to me. They knew that something was going on with me. Sometimes when we on social media, please pick up the phone and pick up the phone and talk to somebody, because we just don't know that phone conversation could help. Stop getting on social media, liking, talking about you praying. People know me. If a parent has passed, I'll pick up the phone. I may not have your number, but I'm going to go into your whatever, Facebook, and I'm going to call you. And I'm going to say, how you doing? Because I lost a mother, I lost a sister. And, you know, I had a mother, you know, that had passed away of Alzheimer's. My sister died tragically of COVID, leaving behind 7 kids. So I helped raise some of her kids, put one through college and everything else. And so we just don't know. Life was life for me in 22. And I thank God for some of the people, not the ones that I would talk to every day, but the ones that really saw something was going on. Because again, Shanice, we don't know. Sometimes you're the person that people go to. We have to learn to go to somebody and pour it into somebody. And what I realize is now, no new friends. I'm not taking no applications. I'm straight to the point. But if you cannot be for me in my time of need, then don't call me at all when I'm doing okay. And so that's something that I want to share. Please pick up the phone. You might be saving somebody's life.
Wow.
You don't know. You hear all these celebrities dying, right? And you don't know what they went through because you realize that they're strong. And I'm that kind of person that I'm strong because I will worry about everybody and put me second. But not in 2025. We're not doing that anymore. I'm putting me first.
Well.
And so if you don't like how I'm moving, it's not because I'm bougie. It's just that I found the Rina from 24 years ago, the resilience person. I'm learning to heal and not put a Band-Aid on, truly heal. And I'm walking in confidence now, which I didn't have before. And God is more in my life. He's in my life because I would play with God sometimes. Let me tell you something about God. This is the last thing I'm going to say. God, when you are anointed, because I like to play with him. I be like, God will come get me at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Because sometimes when we are chosen, we don't want to walk the path. And I remember, I'll tell you a lot, something was going on in my family, and it was really devastating. I'm like, why you God? I'm mad with him. And God had spoke to me, and he said, I don't care. I went on my girls' trip, and I'll share this story, but went on my girls' trip. We went to New Orleans or whatever. And God said in September, I don't care what you're doing. You better get off of social media, and you're going to know what it is. And he gave me dates. My mother was prophetic. And he told me some things, and he showed me some things I was angry with, and then he revealed it. See, God will always reveal. He will always reveal. And when you listen, you move different. I'm very discernment. I don't let everybody in my circle. First of all, if people call me or something like that, I don't talk to you like that. I move differently. Because if your energy is something about you, I ain't mess with you. So if I'm sitting here, you got a good spirit, because I can read right through you. And so he told me, I don't care what you need to do. And he had warned me. And I had pastors calling me. One of the pastors, I ain't going to say, they were calling me, and I kept sending them the voice. Because I was angry, because we get angry with our faith, right?
Keep it real.
We don't want to, we get angry with God because things be life in us sometimes. But if it's no test, there's no testimony. Every test builds you for the next whatever you're going to do. And so he talked to me. He showed me some things. He said, I don't care what you need to do. Sooner or later, you're going to have to surrender.
Ooh!
And he told me that, and he brought me through, he waked me 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, what you want now? Why I can't get no sleep? And God will send people your way, and you will keep on trying it. But he said, sooner or later, you're going to have to surrender.
That's right.
And I surrendered, and I'm not in the climate of my job right now, or whatever the situation is, I'm not worried. You know when you have no burden?
Yes.
And then I told somebody, I said, look, don't bring your negative behind over here. If you prayed about it,
right,
you give it to him.
That's it.
You ain't got to worry about nothing else, because he already going to do what he going to do. God already knows from the time you were born what you were going to deal with.
Right.
We just don't know how we're going to go through this path. And so I always say to myself, sooner or later, you're going to have to surrender when you are chosen. See, not everybody is chosen. People go to church, and you can say, go to ministry, but you weren't even called to do that. A lot of times, these people are not called to do these things, you know? So you over here, you know, the devil know how to prophetically speak over your life, too. So you got to be careful who you're listening to. Filter with your ear, right? And so you have to, I ask God, my tribe, where's my tribe? I want praying people around me. When you come with me, I said to somebody, don't come with me with your negative self. Because one thing about people, they like to push that energy on you. You have to be protected about your space.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get no reaction if you're positive with a negative person. They're going to flee from you.
That's it.
Oh, no problem. And this is what you have to do. When God calls you to do something, you better listen. Because let me tell you something, he will not leave you alone until you get on your knees. And it's going to be hard for you to deal with this world if you don't do what he asked you to do. I learned that in September. So I said, God, I'm done. I'm good. But that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for that. Listen, you can't box with God. I don't care how much you try. He got the last say. That's for certain. Listen, Miss Rina Evans.
Yeah.
People, last thing, and then we're going to close. You can share where people can reach you. I'm going to give you 3 words, and whatever comes on your heart, just share. God, I'm nothing without him. He is everything in my life, and I'm not always the best person, but God is so amazing. I'm very spiritual.
Wasn't always that way. And I just know when you have his presence, it's so much better. When you don't have to wear that burden anymore. When you could just give it to him and know that he's going to work it out. I'm still not 100 there. I'm about 8, because I can clap off on you. About 85%. But I asked God, and another thing I asked also, teach me how to heal. Yeah. How do you heal when someone hurts you? Anybody know? Inbox me. Because I'm going through some things, especially in my family, a large family of 7, and I haven't healed yet. And you don't get blocked. You won't get blessed if you don't heal.
Deal with it. Yeah.
So, teach me how to heal. Yeah. How do you heal? And I would go on my little walks, and I would have my walks with my video. It's always important to tape yourself too and go back. And I said, God, what message do I have today? Teach me how to heal. How do you heal when somebody hurt you? Because I know that we can't hold it all in.
No.
Because it's not good for you, but teach me how to heal. So that's another thing that I'm working with God to
He got you.
Try to heal me from things. I'm a Taurus. So when you do something to me, get a little twitch. But teach me how to heal. So that's it. God and teach me how to heal.
I love that, love that. He got you. It's a journey. Healing is a journey. It's not a switch that you cut off. It is a journey. The more you heal, the more you learn about yourself, the more you can heal, okay? The more you listen to God, like she said, fasting and praying, that is part of the healing journey. If we could do it on our own, we wouldn't need God. Yes. So you have to be open. Thank you so much for sharing that. Marriage.
Oh, God. My husband knew when we was in 1994 under the underpath, he said he was going to marry me. A marriage
the
is...
underpath! I had to be there, okay.
Underpath, 1994. Baby, I'm telling you,
high school.
16, 17 years ago. I would have never... And we got married after 10 years, but I wanted to have school, finish college and things like that. And I'm so... sometimes when you get married at 26 and 27, you're like, some people would say that's too young. But I thank God for the journey. I thank God for all the things. We're not perfect. Our marriage is not perfect. Nobody's marriage is perfect. Let's not be. Right. See, stop following these people on TikTok or these Real Housewives, because you don't know this shit behind the scenes.
Right.
There's some things I can tell you. I love my husband, but when we first got married, I was like, am I doing this? I'm spoiled. But let me tell you about my husband. Baby, I'm giving you a credit. To deal with me, what my parents told me when they walked me down the aisle? They said, Lord, don't be mean. My daddy walked me down the aisle because he said to me, he was like, Rina, I'm just concerned. But he told my husband, she can't come back. And that's how crazy I am. But when he walked me down the aisle, to meet a person that's equally yoked, that you can complete their sentences, and that can deal with a diva like me at times and still never say anything. And I remember going through my fast. And I'll share this. I went through my fast. I've been on a couple of fasts. And God was showing me of how mean I was sometimes to my husband. And, God will show you you're ugly.
He'll show you.
He'll show you you. So I was something else. And that man sat there and dealt with this person here. And I went to him. I said, this is last year actually. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he never once, because my husband, I'm going to tell you my husband, he's just quiet. But he never once said anything. He stuck by me through it all. And that's when you know you have somebody that's committed to you through your ugliness, because you're not always the best person. No. You wouldn't always say. Okay. We could say some stuff. Say some stuff. But through it all, he made sure to love me unconditionally. He made sure when I was in college in CW Post, LLU alumni, that he would come into my dorm and help me with my college papers. And I look at the journey that we've been on since we were 16, now 20s, 30s, now I'm 40, going to be 47. And he stood by me. Yeah. And my uncle, when he married us, he said, I don't marry everybody now.
Ooh,
but I knew when you have somebody, your rib, you truly have a rib. And that's complete in them sentences. And knowing your love language. I just love on that man. But my whole point, what I'm saying is that God sends, pray for a husband. And another thing, even though I had a beautiful wedding case and all that stuff sung at my wedding, my husband never wanted that. I wanted that. We be wanting these big old weddings, but we never communicated what the hell we want in the relationship. Well, and then you have a $30,000 wedding and you ain't last 2 seconds. Ooh. So it's when he told me when we were getting married, he said, I don't care about no wedding, I just want to marry you. And that's when you know that somebody knew from the time that I was that young that he was going to make me his wife.
He was the one.
And so, were we perfect? No. Am I something else? Yes. No one's perfect. No relationship is. I'll never confess that. Be very careful about who you're talking about, black love and all this other stuff. If you had to deal with what me and my husband had to do, you probably wouldn't be able to take it.
Right.
If you had to deal with our child, you probably wouldn't be able to take it. So at the end of the day, I would say to people, don't gush over people because 5 minutes later you're getting divorced and you over here following. Follow what the Lord is telling you to follow. Because some of these relationships that you thinking they're good and they're not, that's just a show. They're just on here for social media. See, I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell the truth. See, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you like, oh, it's all good. You 30, how you make 31, almost 31? You have to fight. And you ain't going to like him sometimes. He ain't going to like you. You fluffy now. You got rolls coming out here. You just, it just, life happens.
Yes.
And you're not going to be the sexy person you met, right? When you first dated the person. And life happens, right? So marriage to me is something that, people gotta want and be committed with it.
Be committed.
That's all I have to say about it.
Yep. And lastly, motherhood.
Motherhood. I'll share this. I didn't know if I ever wanted to be a mother. Because I'm going to tell you something. Let me tell you how good God is. Not that I never want to be a mother. I grew up with seven. I grew up in a household with seven kids.
That's your truth. That's your truth.
And I had a sister that had a lot of kids,
right.
And we had to raise them kids.
Right.
So you always got the one that got raised. And I was raising kids since I was 9, and I was tearing them up and doing all kinds. And so I didn't want to deal with them.
Right.
And I didn't know. And I thank God for my daughter because a child like her, you got to have patience.
Yeah.
And sometimes not the patient part, because I was the type of woman, I was very eager because I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to get my dissertation, I had all this stuff before having my daughter. Motherhood, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's the most, when you have something that, look at, even though we not getting along, Ariana, we not getting along, she's 17. I guess that's what I'm doing, she's doing like what happened to me when I was her age, running after her daddy. But what I will say is this, motherhood is a beautiful thing, and a mini you.
Yeah.
You see a mini you in you, and you really don't realize that you have a mini you in you. And so motherhood to me has changed my life because I think if I didn't have her, I would be a bitch. She has humbled me so much. And I don't think as a woman that was a strong-minded woman that got 3 degrees, I got to move this, everything got to move. I don't think if she changed me. I probably would be the nasty leader because I was that kind of person that wanted everything and was an eager beaver and get my career. I got my bachelor's, got my associates, got all this, and I wanted all of that. Going on to get more degrees if I didn't have my daughter. So I feel like motherhood for me has changed me because it made me the resilient person I am. And I don't think if I hadn't had Ariana, I probably wouldn't be the nicest person to be talking to right now. So. I thank God for that. But it's the truth.
That was good. Ain't nothing like truth. Miss Rina Evans, everyone. I could just sit here and talk to you for days, but we cannot.
I know.
When I tell you I am in awe of you, young lady, I am emotional
again.
I done cried like 3 times already. Listen here.
I know.
Tell the people where they can find you. Listen, if you have questions even connected to the veterans, anything that we've spoken about today, let them know where they can reach out to you.
So I can be found on, my page is private on my Instagram as well as my Facebook. So guys, send me a friend request. You get a little cuckoo, cocoa puffs around here. My TikTok, I don't really care too much because it just whatever. But my TikTok is called Resilience 78, and then it's Rina Evans 1 on Instagram, and then I think it's Rina Evans on Facebook, because I really don't go on Facebook like that. So a lot of times I'm more on Instagram than Facebook, but when I post, it goes to Facebook.
It's connected.
So, but that's where I can be found out. Definitely, I love helping people. I love helping people. I am a motivator. I love to build people, not tear people down, and I like to take those Rudolphs. I'll tell one story, and then we can get off of here. Then close out. Rudolph is me, and I'm gonna tell you the story about Rudolph. Rudolph was counted out. Nobody ever thought Rudolph was supposed to make it because of his nose. Right. And Santa was even being nasty to him, right? He didn't want him to grow the reindeer gear to the point he ran away. Right. He ran away because he was different, because of his nose, right? I feel like I'm a Rudolph, right? And I'm going somewhere with this. Because it's important. It's important that we all are little Rudolphs, right? So Rudolph decided to run away, and because his nose, Santa's like, your nose is different. All the people was teasing him because he was different. He ran away, and then you had the elf. The elf did not want to be, Herbie wants to be a what? A dentist? He wanted to step outside the box. He didn't want to be the damn elf. He wanted to be the dentist. Yeah. And as you go along in Rudolph, sometimes your childhood stories will bring you back to the present. Rudolph turned around and did what? He saved Christmas. Yep. It was that same nose, right? That same Christmas. They had to go get Rudolph. Yep. So I'm a Rudolph. And a lot of us are Rudolphs. We're misfits, right? People have thrown us to the side because we don't look the way other people look. My daughter is a misfit to others, but she's a Rudolph. Dumbo was a Rudolph. The Swan was a Rudolph. There were so many people out here are Rudolphs. Yes. And I look at that story. One day I'm reading that story, and it applies to me because we're all a little Rudolphs. Yeah. We're all a little misfits, a little quirky. But that story, when I tell that story, and I share that in my team to motivate people, we are different. And Rudolph was different, but it was that same nose that people had to contact him. Santa needed him. And he talking about naughty list, and you out here teasing. But you know what stood by him? His boo. Clarice was like, listen, Rudolph, why you got that black thing on your nose, right? She was like, why you got that on your nose? He ran away because he was different.
He was hurt.
Right? And he found them misfit toys. So we got purpose in life.
Yes.
Know your purpose. Don't go with the money. Let the passion speak for you. See, I do things. People always say, Rina, go get Rina, because I got passion. Well, you ain't got no passion. I tell my team this. I'm not here for this money. Right. I'm here for passion. Passion will bring you money. Yeah. When you love what you need to do. So I wanted to share that Rudolph story because when you look at Rudolph with your children, you're never going to say, you just look at it. When Christmas time comes, you be like, Dad, Rina said that. But it's such an important story.
Yeah, I love that.
That his nose was different, and people was teasing him because he was different. And sometimes in life, we get teased because we're different, whether we're tall or we're fluffy or we don't look the way we look or we don't dress the way we look. Those Rudolphs sometimes be the billionaires. They go out and be something great. So stop teasing people because they're different.
That's a fact. Hated to love it, the underdogs on top, honey.
Yes.
Listen, be a Rudolph. It is okay to be a Rudolph. They will be looking for you later with that bright nose.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Rina.
Yes.
Listen, make sure you guys, like I said, if you have any questions about anything that was shared on today, please reach out to Rina, inbox her, DM her, whatever you need to do. Her page is private, but she will respond if she sees fit. And thank you for sharing your heart today.
Thank you too. I am
so inspired. I am in awe of you. And thank you for reminding me why I even wrote this book, because everything that you were saying was connected to the story. Once again, guys, if you want the book, I'm overwhelmed. Sorry.
It's okay.
The book, my first book, God of a Puzzle Pieces, A Mother Who Prays. It is about my son who has special needs. I also have the journals and remembrance of my mom who passed away. We both lost our mothers too. Our angels who are looking down, proud of their baby girls. That's my first journal with Sharon's Heart Stationery, and also the candle line, SHS Candle Collection. Make sure you subscribe to How My Lady She podcast on YouTube, where you will see this edited version loading up. And listen, be kind, be loving.
Yes.
And if you are that person who is always the go-to person, the strong person, create some boundaries for yourself. In this state, in this season, we are not overwhelming ourselves. We are going to be whole. We are going to be healed. And you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you didn't learn anything from the conversations that we've had on today, it's cool to be strong. It's cool to be motivated and all these things, but take care of you.
Put you
when
first.
You take care of you, God can move, and He can speak just like through Rina. I'm overwhelmed. I done cried 3 times, child. But once again, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
your story.
you.
And look out for her book, her daughter's book.
I'm writing that book.
Yes.
Faith of a Mother.
And listen, she spoke it that they're gonna be on Lifetime.
She's gonna be on Lifetime. Because that story is too powerful.
I can't wait. Her story is powerful. We thank you. If you're a mother who needs an advocate, if you're a mother, and I know this has spoken to some parents because it's hard. Yeah. Motherhood is the toughest hood.
Yes, it is.
Parenthood is the toughest hood. There's no manual to this thing. So if God is nudging on you and you know you've been hurting and crying and trying to figure out some things as a mom, don't beat yourself up. Nobody's perfect. Reach out. If she can't help you, she will send you somewhere. Same thing with me. If I can't help you, I will direct you to someone who can. But this is a God thing.
Exactly.
So tap in, get what you need, and let's win.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye.
Later.